Trevor Long, editor of EFTM. Thanks for joining us again, Trevor. I want to talk about what we can do to prevent this as consumers, but first up, how have these data breaches occurred? Do we suspect some sort of cyber warfare or just stuff-ups?
This one's interesting, especially this Club New South Wales thing, because essentially this feels to me like a business disagreement. It's not a hack in any way, because what you have here is an Australian company who are providing these hardware services, the things that we put our driver's licence into to sign into a club, and then software developers who they'd engaged to work with them. And it appears there's some disagreement between those two businesses, and I understand that there's actually a police investigation into that disagreement. And this other company, these developers, have gone, well, we've got all this data, and what they're saying is we shouldn't have this data. It's actually abhorrent that they've got this data, and they're simply letting Australians know. They're not claiming money, they're not claiming a ransom, they're not claiming they're going to release the data, but we have to assume that that has to be in their minds. They're saying, I've actually contacted these developers, the people who have leaked this data, and they've said to me that they've not made any claim of ransom, but they've said the new developers involved would also have access to this data. Yeah. So we as individuals, and I'm affected, my local RSL, need to be saying, why is this data available to developers overseas when I'm simply signing in to get a beer or a snitty?
Yeah, and what about Qantas?
So the Quantis one is fascinating. It's really just probably a line of code error that someone is absolutely kicking themselves about. When they released an update to their app or their IT systems, it allowed you to be authenticated. Yes, I'm that person, but then it showed you the wrong person's information. It is a fundamental failing, and I laugh a bit because it's just unbelievable that it could happen. I saw people's boarding passes. I could have boarded planes as the wrong person thanks to that absolutely silly failure of an IT system. That's such a big company, Chris.
Just quickly, we should then be careful about what information we give away, wherever and whenever?
Absolutely, we should be careful about where we hand our information over. And Chris, when the government talks about a digital ID, that prevents this. So we should support a digital ID, we should embrace it and use that, because that means we don't hand our information over to anyone.
Yeah, we'll check that out. I know that's coming up. A lot of consternation over that. Thanks for sorting it out for us, Trevor. I appreciate it. Trevor Long there, who's with EFTM. He's the editor there.